So there are four proposed rules out for public comment now. Two were proposed in January. One of those was the produce safety rule. That's of a lot of interest and concern among growers. The second rule proposed in January was the preventive controls rule, which relates to what happens in food processing and holding facilities. These are open for comment through the middle of November, November 15th. And we are very eager to get comments from growers and packers and everybody engaged in produce production and food production generally. You know, we're really eager for comments. We know we've got a lot to learn to get to final rules that, you know, meet this dual objective of food safety for consumers, but also supporting the food system and respecting and being able to be implemented across the great diversity of the food system. The other two rules that are out for comment were actually just proposed in July, and these address the import mandate that we have in the Food Safety Modernization Act. As Congress said, we've got to have the same standards whether the food is produced in this country or overseas, and so they've given us new tools to assure that, including and most fundamentally something called the Foreign Supplier Verification Program, which is a program under which importers for the first time would have a responsibility and be accountable to FDA for having in place a system of verifying that the food they're bringing into this country has in fact been produced under the same modern prevention-oriented standards that we're establishing through the produce and preventive control rules. So this will be a very important part of the initiative because consumers expect food to be safe no matter where it comes from. And U.S. growers and processors expect that as well and deserve a level playing field of standards.
Specifically for the farmers that would have to comply with the produce safety rule, what are some of the just bullet point provisions in that as it stands right now?
Well, the mandate that we have from Congress is to establish standards that address the recognized pathways of potential pathways of contamination that are reflected in current good agricultural practices and many of the certification and audit systems that growers are already under. So we're required by the law, for example, to address the quality of water used in irrigation and packing. We're required to address employee hygiene so that employees who are handling the food are observing proper hand washing, for example. We're to address soil amendments, particularly biological soil amendments of animal origin, raw manure, compost that has material of animal origin, to be sure that that's been handled in a way that doesn't result in contamination with pathogens. We're asked to look at how you address the food safety issues that might arise from animal presence in growing areas. We know you can't keep animals out of growing areas, so we're proposing some practical ways to monitor that presence, and if the crop has actually been contaminated, to take appropriate measures to not sell contaminated food to people. So, and then in the packing situations, you know, on-farm packing houses are subject to the produce rule, and so there's certain, you know, basic expectations about sanitary conditions in those packing facilities. So it's building, you know, the Food Safety Modernization Act is really building on the GAPS experience, but Congress said we want to have national standards, a level playing field, so that you know, everybody understands you know, what's expected and can work accordingly.